in New York, commemorating the 40th anniversary of Cardinal Bernardine's first speech. Cardinal Bernardine, concerned about how abortion and other social justice issues had even divided some sectors of the church, presented an important response that had its origins within church doctrine and from this teaching looked outward, looking at society within a framework that he called a coherent ethic of life. Cardinal Bernardine continued to develop this idea until his death in 1996. This vision of Cardinal Bernardine, with which he proposed understanding the moral teaching of the church, sought to respond to the many challenges affecting human life as if they were part of a single garment. There you go. There's the um, seamless garment theory. He's saying that you can't just focus on the question of abortion as if that's the worst thing. You gotta speak about all these sins in society equally, kind of thing. It charts a path for the church that can serve us today as well. For example, a Catholic cannot declare that he is pro life just because he holds an anti abortion stance, but then say that he is in favor of the death penalty. That's going to be a punch in the face to a lot of Catholics right there. Because what Provost, 2 years before being made Pope, just told a whole bunch of people is if you're in favor of the death penalty, but you're against abortion, you're not pro-life. You can't call yourself pro-life. That's going to be a punch in the face to a lot of people. A lot, especially on your more kind of traditionalist end of the spectrum. And that's going to be something that people on the progressive end of the spectrum are just going to love. They're going to be like, yeah, that's what we've been saying all along. So he's saying if you're against the death penalty, but for the death penalty, but against abortion, you can't call yourself pro-life. Now, a lot of people have been critical of that view. And they say, well, wait, there is a difference, because with the case of abortion, that's an innocent person's life being taken. In the case of the death penalty, the person is no longer innocent. You cannot compare them as if they are the same. Others say, but no, it is the same, because either way, guilty or not, this is against the infinite dignity of the human person. And that's where Pope Francis comes with Infinitas Dignita, or Dignitas Infinita document, Infinite Dignity, that he just came out with a few years ago. That is where you can find a whole bunch of documents from Pope Francis against the death penalty. He's rooting it in the dignity of the human person. So, yeah, there's a lot going on here. And again, this will be a splash of cold water in the face of those who are loving Pope Leo right now, but are pro death penalty, and critical of Pope Francis on the death penalty. This is going to be a punch in the gut, because they're going to be like, wait, what are you talking about? You're saying I'm not pro-life? You know, I've been at pro-life rallies. I've been here. I've done this and that. I've done all this. And you're telling me I'm not pro-life? They're going to feel a slap in the face for this, right? So there's going to be different views, different perceptions. People are going to look at this differently. Do be aware of that, however. Let's go ahead and proceed. Share my screen again, and let's continue. This would not be consistent with the social doctrine of the church. So he's saying if you're against the death penalty, you're not consistent with the social doctrine of the church. And then we can say that our way of thinking and teaching must show coherence that defends the value of human life from beginning to end. As a community of believers and as a society, we often find ourselves deeply troubled by divisions, perplexed, and sometimes confused by a host of new questions about life, about the relationship of the church to society at large, and even about the very identity of the individual and his or her relationship to himself or herself. There is division among Christians. There are people, for example, in the church who harshly criticize the Pope or some bishops or some situations, people who reject his teaching, who seek to divide. Just looking at the blogs and interviews in recent months, before, during, and at the conclusion of the month-long Synod on Synodality, there have been false reports, distortions, even theories, conspiracies, and misinterpretations about so many beautiful experiences we had during the synod. In a certain sense, I propose that today we need Cardinal Bernardine's proposal again. There it is, full stop, right? So if you were unclear of whether he's promoting seamless garment theory of Bernardine, yes, he is, very explicitly. He's saying that seamless garment theory of Cardinal Bernardine that says we have to focus on the question of the horrors of capitalism, immigration, death penalty, X, Y, and Z. You have to focus on that just as much as abortion, because the idea is that they're all issues that impact life. And so if you're pro-life, you got to be equally pro-life on all of these things.